We are back to talk Little Brother, the nominations episode. Lyanna making her nominees, which you were correct about, but we'll get to that later. First, we're going to start off with the powers, because Days and Monet got some powers. How do you think the powers... How do you think Days will do with the power, Monet will do with the power?
So Days got a secret veto.
Yes.
And Monet got a switch of vote.
Yes. Secret switch of vote.
Well, I think that they'll probably both fumble it because the number one mistake that people make in this game is they tell them about advantages that they have. So
that's what you think is going to happen, is the usual thing of people talking about it.
Yeah, they'll probably fuck it up.
You don't think Days has learned at this point? No. Alex and Meg had a conversation about possibly making a final two that Meg never agreed to, but what are your thoughts on Alex trying to make that final two with Meg?
I think it's a good strategy for both of them, honestly. I think it's nice to fall back on previous seasons. I do think that it's funny when, Meg said, oh, well, you didn't do anything to me, but it's like, yes, but we all know Alex has the capacity to fuck people over, so just because you weren't the target and you didn't have the opportunity to be the target because I got your ass out, like, I don't think that saying that, oh, well, I wasn't your target, so clearly, you don't have the capacity to screw me over. I don't think that's very sound logic, but I do think that it's a reasonable union, especially for Meg. If this all-girl strategy ends up working out, I think that she'll have a very easy number two. I don't know about Alex's loyalty. He brings up how, oh, I stayed true to Elizabeth, and Elizabeth was my number two. And
didn't he, though?
I mean...
Kind of.
Yes, but did the opportunity really ever present itself to turn on Elizabeth? / do we ever fully think Elizabeth would have beat Alex?
Well, not with that jury, apparently.
So, yeah, I know. Poor R.I.P. Elizabeth. They really ate her ass up. She probably still ain't recovered from that.
Probably not.
But, still, I don't think that Alex using Elizabeth is the best example because he knew he could beat Elizabeth. And depending on how this game unfolds, the same can't necessarily be said for Meg. So
he also used Nav as an example, though, which you didn't watch all that season, but they were close to, I guess.
Okay, and he didn't backstab Nav?
No.
Okay, well then if he can be loyal, then good for him. But I think it is good for Meg, especially if the matriarchy ends up working out, then she's got her solid too. The Deleon and Days conversation was very interesting because Deleon just seemed very excited to say how quickly Days is going to unravel, which I did the same thing when I gave my prospects for the season, that Days was not going to stick to this whole, not a control freak, not a paranoid freak persona. But it seems like Deleon also feels the same and almost kind of foreshadowed that he would be the cause of Days' unraveling.
You think that's what Deleon's planning?
I literally wrote, Deleon seems excited to wreck Dazed, so yes.
Speaking of Deleon, though, Mike is trying to reach out to Deleon for an alliance. Because I guess, Team Petty, at the end of the online battle, which you were a part of, were kind of an alliance. But Deleon wasn't very forthcoming to Mike in that conversation about agreeing to work with Mike.
Yeah, I think that Deleon is very independent. I think that's why Team Petty ultimately came to be, is because we all are so independent and want to play our own game. So Mike going to try and solidify, I feel like, a potential, top two or whatever he was trying to do with Deleon, he should have known that just, know your audience, right? But also, I think that Deleon is a lot like everyone else in the game, where he tries not to give explicit promises, because then, when he does what he's going to do, he doesn't want any sort of, collateral when people are upset. And so, I don't think it wasn't that he's not interested in working with Mike. I think it's just that, again, he wants to be very intentional with his wording. Just like how Meg never explicitly confirmed with Alex that she wanted to work with him.
Yeah, that's fair.
Let the record show that I was right about Fanguy and Dot, and that I said that I think that Fanguy wrecked Dot's game, and I think he moved past it. He said, we're even. Now, whether or not that's actually the case, we'll see. But I don't think that Fanguy was being an emotional player. That's all I want to say.
How do you feel about their conversation of trying to sweep all that under the rug or whatever it was?
I believed Fanguy.
You don't believe Dot?
No.
Not at all?
No, Dot is a Capricorn. Dot holds grudges. I don't think that Dot can move past being wronged. Or I think that Dot... I didn't watch their season, the second season, so I don't know the nuances of it. But depending on how bad Dot fucked over Fanguy, he might be like, well, I wouldn't forgive me. And so he might just automatically be assuming that Fanguy won't forgive him either, and then that's why Dot's just gonna go and play on the offense. The offense is when you, make the attacks.
Yes.
I think Dot is just going to play on the offense with Fanguy and fuck him before he gets fucked.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, too, from Dot, that he is kind of on the offense because he doesn't really know if Fanguy is over it.
Yeah.
But also, it's kind of like if Dot was the last one to feel screwed in that situation, so maybe Dot feels like he still needs revenge on Fanguy.
I didn't watch that season. But something that I did like that Dot said was the Fanguy formula. I don't know if that was his own invention or if that's just something that's been discussed throughout podcasts. But it's almost like the compliment sandwich where it's you say something nice, then you put your critique, then you say something else nice. I guess Fanguy has a pattern where he says the things that he likes about you and he makes you feel comfortable. And I never really thought to pinpoint it as a formulaic thing that he does, but I do like that.
Yeah.
And I think that as Fanguy goes on to play his 39th season with you, maybe people should start to be aware of that.
Yeah, that actually was a really good point out by Dot there. Because Fanguy is really good at that.
He's going to have to switch it up soon.
And he was right, because he said Fanguy is a genuinely good dude, and I do think Fanguy is. But he also plays the...
Are we not all genuinely good people?
I mean, yeah, I would hope so, right? You know any bad people from these games? I mean, some people hate Patty, but I think I like Patty.
Patty saved someone's life.
True.
Okay, Patty is a hero among us all.
And Lyanna knows all about that. So Lyanna comes into her HOH week pretty hot with a bunch of questions for everyone, asking everyone the same questions, trying to get info from everyone and see who they are targeting. It's kind of a way to both get info from people, but also make everybody else state the target so she doesn't have to be the one to pick the target, which as a first HOH is kind of smart.
Yeah. Is this standard Big Brother play?
Kind of, I would say so. So it's to talk to everybody and kind of get a...
No. Is it standard Big Brother play to be if you were HOH, what would you do? Would you characterize people? Who would you call loyal, a backstabber, blah, blah, blah?
I don't know if that's standard. It's happened before, though, yes. But, as an early HOH, it's definitely a smart way to go.
Oh, Lyanna... I literally wrote, Lyanna played HOH questions very well, and then I put a dash. God damn! I would have never thought to ask any of those questions. I just don't think... I wouldn't have thought to ask any of those things. So, and maybe that's because I'm just a Big Brother novice, but now hearing that it's kind of standard practice, still kudos to her for knowing the game, and I think that, if you know the game and you've done your research, then, good for you. The only thing that I wonder about her line of questioning is if certain people, like Days, would hold it against her. I don't know. I could just see her going in and being so direct, eventually going against her, just because people know that she's playing the game and she's playing it hard. But otherwise, very well played. Really good questions, and a lot of people answered them.
Who do you think?
Days.
Do you think Days played that well since he didn't give up info? And also, Lyanna didn't really want to target him, so it's not like it was negative against him.
Well, I think that what saved him was that he was listen, Linda, I'm not going to answer any of your fucking questions. Let's cut to the chase. If you don't put me up, this is what I can do for you. So I think it ultimately went well because he took the approach of bargaining with Lyanna. But him not answering the questions was kind of annoying because it was just like, who would you have wanted to put up? And he's like, well, I couldn't be HOH. And it's like, right, don't fucking do that. You know that this is a hypothetical scenario, so just answer the fucking question. So I think if he hadn't have, done the bargaining tactic, I think this would have went against him, for sure. As being sneaky.
Who else really stood out to you when talking to Lyanna? I see you have a note on Dot.
I said, Dot really busted it wide open for Lyanna. I was like, damn, Dot. Dot really busted it open for Lyanna. I was very surprised at how willing he was to share information.
On the last podcast, you were talking about how Lyanna might target Nav because he doesn't have any connections, but she saw it as an opportunity to work with Nav because they have the least connections. Do you like that?
Yeah, but you could say the same about Mike. You could say the same about Nick, right?
Why Mike?
She has no connections with Mike.
No, the point is her and Nav have the least connections to other people in this game.
Oh, I see. I think I think it's an informed decision to make. But Nav is someone to look out for, and that's why I said that he would be a good first strike. I do think Nav is, as Alex would say, strategical. So that could be to her detriment. Although Lyanna is a strategist herself. So, I think she can hang with the best of them. But I think it's an informed decision, but I don't know that, Nav as the choice is. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think Nav is going to play this slyly?
He has the potential to. Yeah. And then also, I don't understand Nav's relationship with Alex. Are they going into this second game close? I'm just not understanding.
I guess. They worked together very closely on their last season together.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nav is just apprehensive because Alex lied a lot in that season.
I also don't really know Nav's capacity to be loyal. I imagine it's pretty good, considering he worked with Alex very closely. Alex is a lying ass. So, I don't know. I think it's an informed decision on Lyanna's part either way, but I don't know. I haven't seen enough of their seasons to make a good call on whether or not Nav is a good choice. But I do think he is quite strategic.
How about the Lyanna and Monet discussion? They kind of made a personal one-on-one alliance.
Yeah. Lyanna and Monet give me, mother-daughter vibes. They kind of hit it off instantly. And I think that was evidenced when Monet went from, being pretty gung-ho with the Girls Alliance, I feel like, to hating Meg or not trusting her at all because of what happened between Meg and Lyanna. So, and at that, she hasn't seen the season, so it's really just Lyanna's word against Meg's word, right? So, the fact that Monet was willing to go all in on Lyanna's word and say that's really fucked up, let's make a final 2, let's make it do what it do. I thought that was cute.
For the record, Meg did not vote against Lyanna when she was in the void. I brought this up before. Meg did go into that chat saying that Jamil played the better game, but when it came to the vote, Meg did not vote against Lyanna. So
then her relationship with Monet is founded on hearsay. Which is how you know that Monet really wants to just be in with Lyanna. And I think that just kind of speaks to this. I don't want to reduce it to mother-daughter, but that's the best way. Those two just seem to really have some sort of connection with each other. I will say there's a general theme between all of the black people in general of they all just kind of want to trust each other. Is the whole point that she's trying to mirror what happened in real life with the cookout?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Aspen. I guess so.
Because it's my understanding, per Meg's breakdown, because I don't watch Big Brother, so this is just purely off of Meg. It's my understanding that what was so monumental about the cookout was that one, Big Brother finally had a cast that was diverse enough for something like that to take place, and basically it was just this understanding between all the blacks, like, hey, we gonna hold each other down, right?
Yes, and that the show itself has a bit of a bad history with race, and specifically against black players.
Right, and I think if you contrast with the show that you've cultivated, that is quite literally not the case. I think that you have maintained an incredibly diverse cast that has, in fact, been majority diverse. So, like, the incentive there just, like, isn't the same. Dot even said, like, sitting in a chat with you and Dee Dee, like, all three of us think very differently. So, I don't know that that'll be to our benefit.
Another point of Aspen's game, though, is I feel like she had that conversation in the premiere about how in Big Brother, maybe it's great to have a bunch of different alliances to keep yourself safe, and I feel like that's what Aspen's really going for here. So, the Matriarchy Alliance, now, that's the new name.
That's such a stupid name.
You don't like the Matriarchy?
I mean, it's no better than Daddy's Girls.
Monet said it was sexy.
Oh, nothing about a matriarch is sexy.
They did become official, though. What do you think about this women's alliance?
No.
Why no?
I think that it's another alliance just like... I think it's like what you said with Aspen, where everyone's just out here making all these goddamn alliances, and we're just gonna put this through a fucking pasta colander, and we'll see which alliances remain after you sift that shit.
Now, this was the point I wanted to bring up about Lyanna, though, is she is...
Her pernt.
Her what?
Her pernt. That New Orleans accent. My pernt was...
Well, that's not what I wanted to bring up. But she comes into this chat with all the women, and she starts saying everybody was throwing... Well, a lot of people were throwing out their names, but then she doesn't want to say who. But they're supposed to be in this official alliance.
Yeah.
So it's kind of messy.
That... Yeah.
Dee Dee caught onto that and didn't like it.
Yeah. Wasn't a good move for two reasons. The first is that, from what I recall from the chats, yes, everyone's name was thrown around, although I do not recall Monet's name being thrown around, really, at all.
Yeah.
But I feel like the women in the game, their names were thrown around the least collectively. So, there's that. So that, I think that, like, it was just inaccurate, one. Like, we know that the majority of the names that were called were all male names. And then, yeah, like you said, she didn't tell anyone the names, or she didn't let on that, oh, like, your names were thrown around, but it's not anything to worry about. She didn't do anything to, like, appease it, so it's just like, then why bring it up?
Yeah, I don't understand either, honestly.
And then I feel like it could have been something that would have been better to bring up in her, I guess, final two, maybe, question mark, with Monet. Like, that could have been more fitting, where she was like, girl, let me tell you the tea now. You know, that, like, that's information that you reveal to solidify an alliance. So to throw that information out and then, like, to not reveal it in its entirety is strange.
Do you think that's going to cause dissension within this real alliance?
It's not a real alliance. None of these alliances are real.
You don't think none of them are real?
No.
Well, we touched on this a little bit, but Aspen did bring up the possible alliance to Dot and Dee Dee, but then Dot's doing what you want somebody to do, even though you like to shit on Dot, is wanting to target Aspen, who you say needs to be targeted.
Yeah. He's learned from the best. What can I say? No, I think it's... I won't say it's a little too late, because, you know, we'll have to see how the season unfolds, and if, you know, this season bodes well for Dot. But I would like to say that I did try to rally the numbers against Aspen, and was hoping for Dot to join in on that, and he refused to do it. But I'm glad he finally came around to see Aspen for the threat that she is. And same goes for Mike, where Mike was like, honestly, the biggest threat in this game is Dee Dee. Yes. Yes. You need to be focusing on these drifters like Dee Dee and Aspen, who, you know, play the middle, are just a fun time. Yeah, those are the people that you need to watch out for, because you look up and it's final, whatever the fuck, final 6, and they're just sitting there. Kudos to Dot and to Mike for calling that out. Calling out what I've been calling out for many seasons now.
Poor Aspen.
Aspen gotta go. I said it. I said it before, and I'm gonna say it again. You need to go. Period. And Dee Dee too. Only thing, no shade to Dee Dee. I mean, shade. I don't even know if it's shady so much as it's just factual. I feel like Aspen. The only thing, like, why I think Aspen needs to go more urgently than Dee Dee is because I think that Dee Dee's resume will inherently be a little bit weaker because she doesn't play. I mean, now she might, but in the past, like, Dee Dee just hasn't known what's been going on in the games, and so I think that she loses a lot of strategic points that Aspen gets. Even though they're playing identical games, like, Aspen's just willfully doing it, whereas Dee Dee's just kind of drifting. So that's
Would
why.
you really say that for Dee Dee on her first season, though? Maybe on your season.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, like, the first season that she played was, like, a totally different game. That was a game, like, you created. That wasn't Survivor, so.
I know. But I'm just saying, part of the reason she won is because she knew what was going on.
Oh, in her first season, Dee Dee played very well, which was why her second season, in terms of strategy, was so disappointing, because it was like, girl. That was. Because she went into her first season being like, oh, I'm going to ride low, right? And she said, I'm going to come out like, pow. Yeah. That's exactly what she did.
Remember her exact words, actually.
Yeah. And then she got to our season, and she's like, so, Survivor, how, like, so what's the energy for this game?
And she's kind of asking that about Big Brother now, too.
Yes, but I do think Dee Dee is a fast learner, and she's adaptable, so I think she'll be able to bullshit her way through this game in a more strategic way than her second game and her first season of Survival.
So, Fan Guy comes into this chat with Lyanna and Days and brings up the possibility of the Winners Alliance. Doesn't quite go so great with Lyanna because Lyanna wants more information to know who Fan Guy's talking about. And then they also get the information out of Nick because they all kind of gang up on poor Nick, and then he gives up the fact that they had an all winners chat, and then he throws Alex under the bus, which is actually kind of good from Nick because Nick doesn't really fuck with Alex, saying that Alex is the one to say that they should all keep each other safe.
First of all, I disagree with Daze's assertion that they bullied Nick out of his lunch money or some shit like that. First of all, that really ages you, Dazed. Come on now. Nobody carries around lunch money these days. But I think Nick handled himself well, and like you said, I think he played it very well. He threw Alex under the bus. I don't think that let's say that the winners had all really leaned into it, like, yeah, we're gonna do a Winners Alliance. He didn't reveal much beyond the fact that there was a chat and it was talked about. So I didn't leave that chat with any more security than when I went in with it. So I think Nick did well, and I don't think they really gained any additional information beyond what Fan Guy said.
But I mean, I guess they just got confirmation that there was a possible winners thing.
Fair enough. But I don't think, like, it wasn't that revealing of a chat. And, like, truly, you don't leave the conversation knowing, well, is there an alliance, or was it just talked about? You know? Those are two different things.
That's true.
But I understand both DeLeon's perspective and Fan Guy's perspective. I've already made it clear this is DeLeon's Stan account. It's the same thing with Lyanna. Don't be going around spreading partial tea. You're either going to steep the shit and it's going to be piping hot, or I don't want it. I don't want stale tea. Like, give me the scoop. Who said what? You know, because otherwise, are you just spreading something and trying to plant seeds to make, you know, to arouse suspicion? So I think it's fair for DeLeon to be like, I need receipts, I need this fact check. Conversely, I understand Fan Guy's perspective of, yo, like, I'm just trying to fucking keep you abreast of the game without fucking myself over. And
I'm trying to extend an olive branch to DeLeon because they don't have the best relationship.
What happened between them two? It was in my season, but I don't remember.
They were just on opposite sides, really. I wasn't like anything too serious, but...
Okay. I will say, Fan Guy's out here getting testy in his old age now, because he was like, I tried to reach out to this man, he didn't want it, fuck him, he's target number one.
that confessional from Fan Guy was even worse than that. That was only half of the confessional, really. Well, Nav, Mike, Alex, Nav and Mike have this relationship. Not that Nav knew who Mike was exactly, but Mike is the one that brought Nav into this game.
That was funny, yeah.
But they're kind of making this possible alliance, even though 2 of them are about to be nominated. But thoughts on these 3 strategic players?
Well, first of all, I called it. I literally said that Mike and Alex and potentially Nav would be the targets to go after.
But Nav wasn't.
Because they're strategical threats.
But
well, right. That's just because fucking Lyanna
is also strategical.
She is strategical. She is. I mean, alliance is born out of necessity. Work.
You've been a partisan.
Yeah. Well, have they been alliances or have they been temporary partnerships?
Well, you just don't like the term alliances, probably, but...
That's true. I don't identify with being an ally. But...
Okay.
But, I mean, I don't really have anything to say. I mean, you have Nav and Alex working together again. I honestly didn't see them play together their first season, but clearly they're able to have some sort of loyalty, although Nav has been kind of painting Alex as being a backstabbing, lying ass hoe. Well, Alex has painted himself as being that way. So we'll see if that loyalty remains this season. And then Mike and Alex have no connection. They've never played together.
They've never played together.
I feel like, didn't Mike speak positively of Alex, though?
On the podcast, yeah.
Yeah, so...
And they're 2 former winners.
And then, you know, for some reason, people in this game like to play with competitors. I don't understand that mentality. I'm like, if you want to win, why would you want to play with a competitor? That's stupid.
That is a mentality of some of these players.
It's so dumb. They're like, I'm a competitor, you're a competitor. I'm like, I'm a competitor, so you need to get your ass on.
So, Lyanna does nominate Mike and Alex. One, because they are the names coming up most, but any other thoughts on why? I mean, you called Mike being the calm threat that he is. He comes into all these games on the wrong foot, like he says, but I mean, you are a comp beast, so you won. Mike won the competition-based game, so it's a fair argument. And then Alex, he was the biggest snake, as they all said.
I thought it was very well played on Lyanna's part. Even though Mike and Alex could come back with a vengeance against her, I think she has a very strong argument for why she did what she did. And even if it's purely because it benefits her gameplay, which it does, she always has the argument of saying, well, Mike, I don't know you. I just only know from previous experience, from previous games, that you're really good at challenges. And also your name was floating around. And then same thing for Alex. Alex, you're a fake ass, lying ass hoe. So I think she can appeal to their rationality and their desire to play with fellow competitors. So this only works well for Lyanna, especially if neither of them win the whatever competition.
Veto.
If neither of them win the power of veto, I have no business fucking doing this podcast. If neither of them win the power of veto, she only gets what she wants. She's either going to get Mike or Alex out, which is like, what a productive HOH. True. And then, if one of them do win the power of veto, she can renominate someone, right? So then that's when you can, say, well, the second highest name was Dazed. Sorry. So, or whoever else she hates.
Speaking of Dazed, though, on one hand, Dazed did a good job of, being the volunteer to not play in the HOAs like we talked about last time, because he doesn't want to be the first HOAs because he gets blood on your hands, and he could also not be in power even though he got a power. But then Lyanna showed a good job of first HOH, what to do as the first HOH, because you can make everybody else come up with the target with the way she played this off, and she too kind of doesn't get a lot of blood on her hands because they're the biggest targets that everybody else said.
Yes, but I think Lyanna is benefiting, especially from the fact that she has the fewest connections in the game.
That's fair.
Because I think that had this had been Dot who won HOH and it was like, oh, well, everybody said it.
Nobody would believe him.
No one's going to believe him. He's a car salesman. He's greasy, as Patty would say.
He's probably going to say that in the next podcast.
So, I think that it's a combination of Lyanna played the HOH very well. And also, she's just in a very nice situation in terms of her connections. So,
Any final thoughts?
let's see. Oh, I actually did say Dot made wise choices.
Wow.
I thought that Dot's selections for who he would put up for HOH, he said Fan Guy, and then who else? Mike?
Probably Mike, yeah.
I thought that Dot, made good choices for advancing his gameplay. And I actually, you know what, Dot? I'm gonna stop going so hard on you. Unless you start doing some stupid shit. I do like this new gameplay of Dot being mostly honest, strategical, and I think what I'm really appreciating about Dot right now is that although he's making 19 million alliances because everyone in the game is making 19 million alliances, he's not playing for an alliance. He is purely trying to advance his own game, which is not something that I've seen previously from him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you would have watched his last season, you would have seen his growth as a player.
That's because I ate his ass my season when I said...
So you're taking credit for...
Oh, absolutely. When you were out here trying to play Mr. Nice Guy and didn't want to fucking make a target because you didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Because that one he was pussy popping.
He was pussy popping all around that and pussy popped his way out of the game.
He did indeed.
So... I'm here for him. He's playing more for himself, which I do appreciate. He's not trying to be oh, well, this is what the Alliance wants, or, oh, I don't want to get my hands dirty. He's who would I put up for HOH? Fan Guy, because Fan Guy gonna fuck me, so I'm gonna fuck him first. So, He's out here. He's playing aggressively, but strategically.
That's going to be the word of the season, because it will come up again in an episode. So.
Alex.
Not from Alex, not from somebody else.
Strategical?
Yes. Well, we're actually shockingly ending on Q saying something positive about Dot, so...
Let's go ahead and tank this. Can't end on that note.
Well, you're going to end on a different note.